Hello, welcome back. My name is Lauren. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 things that helped me to heal my toilet anxiety and get to a place of ease where I was no longer having that thought of, but what's going to happen if I don't make it to the bathroom in time? And not being able to leave the house because I couldn't be away from a bathroom, basically. Compare that to now, where I pretty much live a normal functional life and don't ever really think about needing to go to the toilet unless I actually need to go. And in that case, it's just like a go to the toilet and you're done kind of situation. If you are interested, please keep watching, and if you want to be notified about new videos that I release, please hit the subscribe button. I will be very appreciative and grateful to have you here in the community. Also, I have written an ebook all about dealing with toilet anxiety, how to navigate life with toilet anxiety. There is a chapter in there called The Things That Actually Help, because I know that there are quite a few tools and techniques that have helped me over the years. I'm going to be talking about 1 or 2 of them today, but you can find a whole bunch of them in the ebook. I also talk about the way the body works, the way sphincters work, which is very interesting and really helped me to get a better understanding about toilet anxiety, and also talk about dealing with toilet anxiety during travel, toilet anxiety during school, toilet anxiety during work, that kind of thing. So if you are interested in purchasing the ebook, it's available on my website. I will link it in the description box. But let's get started on the 5 things. So the first thing that helped me was befriending my body. This was a huge part of healing my toilet anxiety, and not just that, but my relationship with anxiety and my relationship with myself. The thing is, when you have toilet anxiety, or really any kind of anxiety, you start to become very afraid of your own body. You feel like you can't trust yourself. You feel like you can't live inside your own body. You feel like your body is working against you. I know for me, I always felt really angry at my gut. Felt really angry at like the hand I'd been dealt with, having this gut that just always seemed to react, constantly having diarrhea. I remember being angry at a friend of mine who used to get constipated. I used to think like, man, I would do anything to be constipated. Like I just, anything to not be dealing with diarrhea, which now I know is not something, constipation's not something to wish for either. But that's just to give you a bit of an idea of my headspace back then. I always felt like my body had it really bad, and I just felt angry at that. And so not only did I struggle to inhabit my own body, but I struggled to feel any kind of compassion or love towards my own body, my physical home. And when I learned to strengthen that relationship, it really helped with my toilet anxiety, because I started really understanding my body, and I started wanting to take care of my body in a different way. Not just in the way of like, I want to eat healthy and I want to look good kind of situation, but I wanted to take care of my body in a really genuine, nurturing way. I wanted to mother my own body. I wanted to feel safe within myself. And so for me, that looked like starting a running routine. It sounds like something that you do when you want to like get super fit, but for me, it was more about, I just wanted to run. I just wanted to have that time to sort of spend with my own thoughts. I also started doing weight training. I started doing yin yoga. I started doing other types of yoga. I really went on kind of an exploration of being in my body. I did start really taking note of what foods I ate, and I've spoken about that in my 2 other toilet anxiety videos, especially my first one. But the caveat with that is that I also found that worrying about what food I was eating started to become a bit of a stress in and of itself. Because on the one hand, it was like, I want to take care of my body by eating foods that don't trigger me. But then it was also coming from that space of wanting to avoid triggers because I didn't want to feel anxious, if that makes sense. So I kind of, while I do still eat relatively healthy, I guess. Like I don't drink soft drink every day, and yeah, I don't smoke anymore. I don't pound espressos anymore the way I used to. But I'm also not super strict on what I eat either. I really eat what I want to eat, and that's how I love my body in that way. So mostly befriending my body has been about exercise, has been about spending time in my body. Definitely meditation has been a big one. So actually just sitting with myself, sitting in my own body. Also, it kind of developed into wanting to dress my body differently, wanting to find a sense of me in my body, wanting to express myself more. And so being a little bit more playful with the clothes that I wear, with the colors that I wear. So what started out as me just wanting to exercise for the sake of, being in my body in a healthy way and sort of releasing tension and releasing anger, turned into this kind of love affair of wanting to know more about my body. I started reading books that were about the body. I started really kind of exploring how the body works and trying to learn more about it and understand more about it, learning about energy, learning about chakras, learning about sphincters, which is why I wrote about it in the Toilet Anxiety ebook, but really just diving into what it means to have a human body and what it means to have a spiritual body and an emotional body, and creating a relationship with all of those aspects of my body was so important, and it really helped me to learn to feel safe in my body again. Number 2 is that I started to be more open. One of the worst things with toilet anxiety is the shame that you feel surrounding it. For me, that really cemented that fear. Because the thing is, I could say to you, my fear is that I'm accidentally going to have an accident in public and people are going to think badly of me. But if I followed that thought through, I would know that, some people might laugh at me. Some people might think, oh my God, how embarrassing. But for the most part, human beings are really compassionate and empathetic, and people are able to come from a place of like, I want to take care of you. So I knew that if that happened when I'm out with my partner or with my kids, like no one's going to judge me. Everyone's going to say like, how can I help? So I knew consciously that if the worst happened, it wouldn't be the biggest deal. But there was still that sense of wanting to not talk about it. And that was what made it feel like if the worst happened, it would be unbearable, because I was making it such a secretive, shameful thing. And so the first place I opened up about it was on YouTube with my first toilet anxiety video, which I will link. And I couldn't believe the amount of people that commented and said, I deal with this as well. Now, I wasn't even super transparent in that video. I mostly spoke about the fear of needing to pee, because I didn't want to be that girl who spoke about the fear of, needing to poo, the fear of accidentally pooping yourself. I didn't want to speak about that because I was embarrassed, and I felt that, I could be a little bit open, but I couldn't be completely vulnerable, completely transparent. But the more that I started talking about toilet anxiety, the more easy it became for me to be open about it. And then the less of a hold those fears actually had on me. The more that I spoke about it and realized how universal fear it actually is, and how many people actually worry about what's going to happen if they can't make it to the toilet in time. It just took a lot of that weight from my body, a lot of that weight of like, I have to hide this, I have to stop it from happening, I have to make sure no one knows about this, no one sees me. It allowed me to stop being scared of being seen, which was a massive, massive thing. I know that it feels very hard to be open about that, but you forget to be human is to have similar fears. To be human is to be scared of being humiliated and ashamed and embarrassed. Brené Brown's obviously spoken about this a lot, the power of vulnerability and, the fear that surrounds being vulnerable. We are all scared of being vulnerable. And some of us, aren't scared of being vulnerable about toilet habits, but some of us are. The common thread is that we're all scared of being vulnerable. So the hardest part is learning to open up and allowing yourself to open up. But once you actually do and start being open about your fears, it really not only helps you to work through them, but it helps you to realize that the things that you are scared of don't need to feel so awful. They don't need to weigh so heavy on your heart, and you can release some of that. And it actually has the effect also of making you not as scared of it. Being open about it was a huge one for me. It's something that I continue to do. I sometimes get worried that people are sick of hearing me talk about toilet anxiety because of how much I talk about it. But I do that because I will always champion this cause, and I will always be open about it to remind the people who are scared that it's okay. The third thing that helped me with healing from toilet anxiety was testing myself with, things that I didn't think I was capable of. So testing my capabilities. And what I mean by that is when I was in the throes of toilet anxiety, I used to say things like, I can't go out first thing in the morning. That was when my gut would always churn and I would struggle to get away from the toilet. I would say things like, I can't eat, onions, kind of caffeine, kind of beans, kind of cauliflower, kind of this, kind of any of the high FODMAP foods, because that triggers me. And if I have them, I can't go out the next day. I used to think that I couldn't really do long drives. I couldn't wear certain clothes. I still struggle with certain clothes, to be honest. But yeah, there was this whole like web of rules that I was living in, and I was very adamant about them. I started testing myself in being like, is this really a rule that I have to listen to? Like, is this really true? So for example, not being able to go out first thing in the morning. It seemed like that was a rule that I couldn't test, because in the morning my gut would always churn and I would always end up desperately having to run to the bathroom. So I was like, how can I test that? Because I do have to sit on the toilet for ages in the morning. But what I started doing was I started just going out earlier and earlier, and sometimes I would get straight out of bed and take my dogs for a walk straight off the bat, like not even really washing my face or anything, just like chucking on some leggings and walking out the front door. And I would have the intention of just going for like a quick 5-minute walk around the block and then coming home and going to the bathroom. But what I found was that I could actually go and have, an hour walk and even go out for coffee afterwards and then need the bathroom later on. So I realized that there were all these ways in which I was holding myself back because I thought that I'm incapable of that because of my toilet anxiety. But actually, my body would respond to the rules that I was putting on myself as if they were true. And then when I challenged them, my body would respond as if they weren't true. So it was just that I needed to figure out for myself that I'm actually capable of anything that I put my mind to. Anything that I tell myself I can do, my body will let me do it. My body will help me find a way to make it possible for me. And so the more I started testing my capabilities and realizing that I actually am capable of a lot more than I think I am, the more my toilet anxiety eased, because I wasn't so like tense all the time. I wasn't constantly trying to head off the inevitable. I wasn't constantly trying to avoid the worst happening and trying to live in such a small, restricted way that everything seemed hard and that my gut was always tense and churning and worried. I wasn't constantly living in that like fight or flight state. And so I went from a place of my toilet anxiety being so bad because my stomach was so bad to my toilet anxiety not being bad at all because my stomach was actually acting pretty normal. The fourth thing that helped me to heal my toilet anxiety is giving myself permission to be human. I've spoken about this one so many times, so I'm sorry, you've probably already heard me say it, but I talk about it a lot because it is the most important one, I think. We really just give ourselves a hard time about being human. Like we really, when it comes to everything like social media, trying to make our lives look a certain way. I mean, to be totally upfront, I tried to curl my hair before this video because I wanted to look a bit more put together, and it's just, of course we try and sort of put our best foot forward, but we also try and remove the messiness and the discomfort and we try and remove the human from our human experience. And then we wonder why we're so tense and so worried and so angsty all the time, because we're not giving ourselves that space to embody all that being human includes. And being human includes sometimes being nervous about being vulnerable, sometimes having diarrhea, sometimes being constipated, sometimes having toilet troubles. That's part of the human experience. And it's also part of the human experience to have anxiety. It's also part of the human experience to worry about what people think of you. We forget that, and we work so hard to be these perfect versions of ourselves, and it is exhausting. And I think with my toilet anxiety, I didn't want to admit to myself that that it's okay to need to go to the bathroom, that at some point in my life I probably am going to have an accident. I tried so hard to be like someone who is worthy and attractive and like just someone who isn't ashamed, or someone who isn't uncomfortable, or someone who isn't someone who's good enough. And I got so confused about what that meant that in the end, with toilet anxiety, I couldn't live anymore. I just had to stay home because I was so paralyzed by this need to not be human. So when I finally gave myself permission to just say, you know what, if you had an accident one day, if you were outside and you didn't make it to the bathroom in time, that's okay. That is okay. Like, it's all right. And I really let myself feel into that. I really explored what that would mean about me if, that thing that I was so scared of happening actually happened. And I realized that giving myself permission to be human meant that I had to go all in on that. And I had to say that not only is it okay to be scared of this happening, but it's okay if it happens. And it just means that you are a human being living your life. That's all it means. It doesn't even really mean that. Like, it doesn't have any relevance to who you are as a person. It doesn't have any relevance to your worth as a human being. It doesn't have any relevance to your the trajectory of your life. It just means that you are a human being and you have a digestive system. Like, that's it. And I just realized that I was giving myself such a high standard to meet that was just impossible. So that was a huge one for me. So if you can do just that, if you can just give yourself the permission to be a human being and just realize that it's okay to be scared, it's okay to have anxieties, and it's okay if you have an accident, again, you don't have that tension then of like, but what if? You can just let go and say, what if? Then it happens. If it happens, it happens. It's okay. I talk about this one all the time, but it's just, if I have to remind myself every single morning that you are a human being and the fact that you are here at all is a miracle and you are doing a great job just doing that, then I will. And if I have to remind you guys of that, then I'm happy to do that too. You are a human, you are a miracle, you are alive, and you just, like, it's amazing that you're doing just that. So please just give yourself permission to be the human being that you are, and all the all the things that comes with. Embrace all of that too, please. The last thing that helped me with healing my relationship with toilet anxiety was turning towards experiences where I didn't feel well, rather than turning away from them. When I had toilet anxiety, I was so scared of things like having gastro, potentially eating something bad and getting sick. I was so scared of wearing tight pants and getting stomach cramps and like having that experience of having stomach cramps. I was so tired of being in a bathroom far from home and it being like a grubby bathroom and like just not feeling okay about it. I was so scared of all of those things happening. And if they did happen, I turned as far away from them as I could. Like, I rallied hard against them. I did not want to have those experiences. And yeah, if I did, it was like the end of the world. I remember having gastro when I had toilet anxiety, and it was such a bad experience. And for like 2 weeks afterwards, I was reliving it over and over again in my emotional body, feeling like, oh my god, like that was the worst experience. I can't believe I had diarrhea. Like, how am I going to recover from this? You know, now I'm just so scared that like my fears are actually going to come true. I had those experiences that I feared so much. I was so scared of them, and I was so desperate to get as far away from them as I could. Whereas when I started learning how to heal my relationship with toilet anxiety, I turned towards those experiences. So when I had a sick belly, when I had like a 24-hour stomach bug or whatever, I really let myself experience that without pushing against it. It's kind of one of those things that's hard to explain, but the best way I can say it is that when I was having those experiences, I didn't then add on that second layer of wishing that I didn't have that experience. You know, I wasn't spending all my time thinking about how unlucky I was and how awful it was and like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I just really accepted that like, this is what's happening and it's fine. Like, again, this is part of what it means to be human. I'm really struggling to like explain this one properly. Basically, all I mean by it is that I didn't turn away from discomfort anymore. You know, if there was a situation I was in where I was deeply uncomfortable, I really let myself sit with that discomfort and just experience it fully, instead of trying to run away, instead of trying to find a way to fix it, instead of trying to find a way to get away from it or complain about it or be miserable that it happened. I just was like, you know what, this is a part of life. And I spoke about this before in one of my Instagram reels, that what I want for myself and what I kind of want for everyone else is that you get to the end of your life and you realize how rich your life was with all these different experiences. You know, like you really juiced life as much as you could. And I think about that and I remember that that includes uncomfortable experiences. That includes thinking about like, man, remember that time I had that stomach bug, and like, oh, remember how like crazy that was, and I remember when this happened, and I remember when we went to that on that road trip and we stopped at that bathroom on the side of the road at that service station and it was yuck, and just things that I would have thought otherwise were unbearable experiences. I remember how valuable they are to the experience of my life as a whole. And yeah, basically, I don't want to get to the end of my life and think I held myself back from so much in order to avoid discomfort. I want to think I am happily exhausted from all the experience that I soaked up in this life, all of the things that I did, the good, the bad, the uncomfortable, the amazing. Like, I really just experienced it all. That's the best way I can explain that, and I hope that makes sense. I'm not doing a very good job today. Those are the 5 things that helped me heal my relationship with toilet anxiety. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will do my best to answer. Hopefully I can be a bit more clear than I was in this video. But yeah, I hope you get something from that. I hope that it helps you. Yeah, I remember how hard it was dealing with toilet anxiety, and I remember how lost and alone I felt. And I've kind of made it my mission to help people who are in that place. So I hope you get some value out of this video. If you would like to purchase the toilet anxiety ebook, the link will be down below. But yeah, sending you all so much love. Merry Christmas. I hope you have a lovely, lovely holiday break. And I will see you all in the new year.